Hi, good evening, and welcome to the Spencerport Board of Education meeting for Tuesday, November 15th, 2022. Could you please join me in pledging the flag? Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for coming tonight. Okay, we'll get started with the first order of business is the approval of the agenda. If I could have a motion to approve the agenda, please. Kate, second. Megan, all in favor? 5-0. Thank you. Okay, well, tonight, special night for us to recognize our school-related professionals. If you want to say words.
Sure, thank you. Yes, today is a special day. I know that the principals have also sent wonderful messages, but today is School Associated Professionals Day. So for all of our nurses and transportation department and all of the staff members that are unsung heroes that do so much behind the scenes that help make our work a little bit easier. A special thank you and a true sense of gratitude and appreciation for all that you do.
So with that, I do have something to read here, please. Whereas the third Tuesday in November is New York State School-Related Professionals Recognition Day. Whereas our school-related professionals are integral to the education of our community's children, the school-related professionals are committed to ensuring that our district provides students with individualized attention through our quality instructional support services, daily nutritious meals, a clean and safe learning environment, safe ridership to and from school, highly maintained buses for transport, helpful assistance and response within all of our offices, wellness care through our professional nursing and health services. School-related professionals are often the first people our school children encounter on a daily basis, and they have a tremendous impact on the success of our district students and staff, as well as our mission. Their dedication to our school community is invaluable. Be resolved that the Board of Education of the Spencerport Central School District hereby acknowledges with deepest appreciation the devotion, commitment, and concern our school-related professionals exhibit on a regular basis to provide a quality education for the Spencerport school community. Adopted this day, November 15th, 2022, by the Board of Education. And can I ask all our school-related professionals that are here to please stand? Thank you so much. We had kids go through this school district already and they're out the door now. I can attest to the many great things that our drivers have done for them, the folks in the cafeterias, and just everybody that had an impact on their lives. It was a big piece of what they did in their education. So I appreciate it on a personal level as well as from the Board of Education. So thank you so much. Yeah, can I have a motion to adopt the resolution? Kate, and a second by David. All in favor? 5-0. Thank you all very much for what y'all do. Okay, moving on to the next item on the agenda is privilege of the floor. During this time, members of the public may address the board. Remarks should be limited to 2 to 5 minutes. The board will listen to input, but not respond except to refer any specific concerns to the superintendent for follow-up. Board is not required to, but may thereafter respond in writing. Speakers will please give their name and phone number, and the clerk will record this. And we do have one request for privilege of the floor tonight from Mr. Donald Bardeen. Mr. Bardeen.
My name is Donald Bardine. I live at 6 Ridge Meadows Drive, Spencerport, New York. My phone number is 585-414-9984. A specific question I have for the board is concerning, I'll explain to you how I got to that question, but student surveys that the school does. I would like to know if I can get a copy, or can parents in general, or can we in the community get a copy of any surveys that are going to be done by the school system for the students, and can we get that prior to the survey being completed? I had a chance to, of course, to listen to review the video of last week's board meeting, and I want to make a few comments regarding that. There were 3 people that spoke at the meeting. I don't stay for the meeting. One of the benefits I have not being where you're sitting, I can know when I can listen to it at my leisure, and I do that. But there were 3 people that spoke. I think I only have their first names. I think one that 2 of their last names was Tim, Kate Zolke, and then Aaron Hansel. And they were talking about the at-risk behavior survey data, et cetera. I learned a lot listening to that and reviewing that. There's some things that just jumped out at me, and this, I can say this from a positive standpoint. First of all, so I'm talking about, like the prevention initiatives, the Red Robin Week, the DARE program, which I've been familiar with for years, the Too Good for Drugs, Kids Escaping Drugs, DDI, Assembly, the Arrival Eye, et cetera, programs. All positive things. I want to kind of step back here for a second. And I'm not paying attention to 5 minutes, so wave me off whenever you're ready if you have to. But the point I want to make is that I see a lot of the positive things happening within what you're doing and a lot of the programs. At the same time, I think there's where I and the board sometimes clouding into each other. As I come at this, a lot of these things from a very different, basic, fundamental belief system and philosophy than I think a lot of you that apparently do. So while we're attacking the same problems, the same things and stuff, and trying to do a lot of good things, we don't always approach them the same way. And I have some fundamental concerns with some basic concepts that are going on, not just in Spencerport, but in general across the country. Let me move on real quick to, I think Superintendent Swine gave a very good presentation on her strategic planning update, by the way. There was a lot of positive things in there, and at the same time, I think this again where our philosophies are different. The basic raw data from the thought exchange, you took it, now you're working with it. And I look at that, and I have a basic question. One thing I will say, a question that I asked last week, and I still would like an answer. I didn't get an answer from the board. I don't know if it was an oversight. Potentially, you just nod to me tonight. Just let me know if I can get an answer. Specific question I asked at the last board meeting was concerning cell phones, and that question arose out of the thought exchange, the raw data that I looked at. There was a lot of comment regarding cell phones, in particular, in the classrooms and the distraction that they caused. Also, the behavioral problems and the distraction that caused. So, distraction, behavioral problems, cell phones were a major thing that I got from the raw data looking at that. And I'm sure Superintendent Swan would agree with me. There's a lot of that stuff there. And now we're going to approach dealing with it. But one of the things that jumped out at me is cell phones. Seems like if I was a teacher in a classroom and cell phones were a problem, as the teacher, unless you are telling me I could not, I would eliminate cell phones in my classroom. And that's just me. I'm just saying that's my simple statement of the way I believe. Whether you can have cell phones, you take cell phones away from the students, or at least make them keep them in their pockets, not use them, et cetera. I want to know what the policy for that is. I would think it's simple, to me, a simple, straightforward policy, and then enforcement of that policy, and with consequences for continued. But anyway, that's where I'm coming from on some of this stuff. Okay. Well, one thing that Superintendent, I kind of laughed when I heard this, because you know when you stated your mission statement, and I have to get it written down, so we take your mission statement. And I was looking at it, and the first thought that came to my head But before I could even get the thought through my head, you actually addressed it. I think, well, maybe it was a few minutes later. You said, in your interaction with your group, gee, our mission statement, we didn't mention education. So I trusted you to get back in there working on that. The other thing you mentioned was holistic approaches. So that needed a little bit better definition or whatever. So I wanted to make sure you folks understand that I'm sorry. We're on the same wavelength. We're trying to help the students. Yes, I have a totally different value system maybe than a lot of people that are sitting here. And we'll get into that right now. We'll keep talking about it. But the other thing I want to mention real quick, I never got any feedback regarding your openness to having some kind of back and forth regarding the informational meeting on whatever date it is in November prior to the budget, prior to the funding vote. I never got a response. I'd like a response to that. If you're addressing it, if you're interested in it, or you're moving it, if you're not interested, please get back to me. Let me know what's going on, your thoughts there. I did ask the question. And the same thing with the cell phone. So other than that, I'll leave it. I'll watch this me at my leisure. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Barty. Okay, moving on to next order of business is our consent agenda. Do you have any addendums or anything like that? No. Okay, so any questions, comments about consent? We have a motion to approve. Megan, second Kate, all in favor? 5-0. All right, Board of Education, let me just grab my notes real quick. I know last week, last week we had the information exchange meeting, Monroe County School Board Association. And they were talking about the regional equity network, which was started by the Greece Central School District. It was a great presentation. Ty was there to listen in and stuff. A lot of good information. That presentation should be up on the association website very soon and stuff. And I'd encourage you not only to gain access to look at that, but to the other information that the website is continuously putting out there and stuff. Steering committee also met last week, and we're going to talk to Kristen after that, and we're going to work on doing a little bit more proactive in terms of getting our local representatives, now that the election is done, inviting them actually into some of our school buildings and getting them a little bit more in tune with what we're doing here in our district and stuff. So we'll work on that over the coming weeks and stuff. I also did my school building visit with Burnaby. With Darren and stuff. There's some good things that are going to be happening, of course, out of the capital project when we get a good positive vote out of that. But there's always things to consider. I am also meeting with Dave up there, the principal, on a monthly basis at least. And I know my schedule is a lot more flexible, but to the degree that y'all can do that, to kind of get to know your principal, kind of be a cheerleader for him and find out what's going on a little bit more in depth in their building. I'd encourage that and stuff. So also Act for Education, again, don't forget that that's out there. There's a lot of good information on their website. Please take a look at that. Thank you.
I also attended the information exchange last week. I thought it was really valuable. Also last week, we had the district wellness committee meeting led by Jamie. The committee strategized and discussed ways to support faculty and staff members in the district with various health and wellness initiatives. I thought there were a lot of great ideas that came out of that, and we're going to continue to utilize thought exchange to delve a little bit deeper into some of the kind of broad stroke ideas that were initially brought up when Jamie sent out a survey last month. I also had my facilities walkthrough at Taylor with Darren, which was really valuable. I enjoyed hearing his perspective on a lot. There's things certainly that will hopefully be approved also with the positive vote on the capital improvement plan. So we're excited about that. And I also met with Kelsey Pinchelli, the principal at Taylor, a lot, just to kind of get my finger on the pulse of as to what was happening there.
Get up on the roof.
No.
I am not going on the roof of mine because that is actually one of the things on the capital. So not where I want to be, but I did my walkthrough. Darren was a very busy man this past week at MUN. He is a full service employee, actually escorting children to the bathroom in addition to doing the walkthrough. Like I said, in terms of the capital improvement project, things that are on the plan for that would be the Monroe boiler replacement, hopefully a new playground. So lots of exciting things there. There was a high school Pops concert, which was excellent for those of you who went. It was really nice to see. We usually don't get to see the band perform until usually the holiday time. And it's always kind of one of those times where you're right in the middle of everything and you can see people kind of excited to be there and yet itching to go. And this was a really great atmosphere. The kids played, I think, really well, considering we've been in school, I think it was like 9 weeks at that point. So that was great. I spent an exorbitant amount of time, embarrassingly, watching the YouTube games this weekend. So I loved that they were streamed on YouTube. So I was able to see volleyball play and both soccer teams, and what an exciting finish for both of our, for all of our sports teams that have done just such a remarkable job. And we had the safety committee meeting. Dave will comment on that. And tomorrow is labor relations for Monroe County School Board, and we're looking at electric buses.
Well, Darren dodged a bullet with me this week. He and I had a schedule conflict, so I was not able to go into Cosgrove, but Cosgrove has been my school long enough where I feel like I could do the walk. So he and I are gonna touch base and try and get together before the holiday, which will be tough, but we'll see. And I was with Leah, I was trying to keep track of the games that were going on, and it was all really incredible and such a great way for, you know, those seasons to come to a close. They should all be really proud. And then, you know, the kids were observing some Veterans Day things in school too. Thank you again, Dave and Gary, for your service. And we talked a lot about what they did in school at home, and it was really nice way that the schools had encapsulated that. So that's what's going on here.
So Mr. Wallace committee, sorry. I just, 2 is my walkthrough is Friday. It was scheduled for Monday, but we had a conflict. And that Pops concert was at the cafeteria.
Yep.
Which is different than in the pack, if you will. So definitely more of an intimate situation. It was kind of nice, you know. And I was on the safety committee with Ms. Brown there, and there are 47 things we went over. I'll go all of them right now for you. No, a couple here. One is they talked about a safe school helpline to replace our tip line, a bigger, better, faster program. They're going through that right there. Secondly, possibly getting together a subcommittee to discuss, look at the data from student suspensions to see what we can do differently or better. Also, Ms. Swan thought exchange to get a hold of staff and communicate with them about some issue they may have at the different levels that would be. And Ty talked about just maybe we're looking at reporting from Bavona, and if you see it, say something and ways to do that. And also a lot of discussion about classroom doors, the locks, should they be open, closed, elementary, middle, high, what's the protocol, and getting it fixed up, and then we ran out of time. So and then what else? That was it. Yeah.
I just want to kind of circle back to Burnaby. I mean, one of the issues in Burnaby that Darren and the team are still fighting with state ed on is the blackboard doors and stuff. And it seems like the most ridiculous thing in the world that they would cost us tens of thousands of dollars to replace them, but so we're still.
They were painted, right?
Yeah, they were painted with blackboard paint or
Right, yeah, right.
white paint or
Sure,
whatever. So it's just one of those silly things and stuff. One of the other things that Darren mentioned, and this goes across the district, is the energy performance contract that they're looking for, inefficiencies and improvements and weighing off what is cost effective and actually gives you enough return on investment. And I know that's just kind of like in the beginnings and stuff. They did a one walkthrough already at some of the buildings, and so they're looking at getting that kickstarted. So
So, Mr. Brackens, the blackboard doors, because they're painted, they're obsolete,
they're saying there's some issue with the fire code because of the blackboard doors,
right?
which is
Yeah, I understand. And you can't take the blackboard paint off,
no.
okay,
So we'd have to actually replace
the door.
the
which
doors, which
costs
means
this, yeah.
replacing the doors in the frame.
Right, right,
which
yeah.
just gets into this
We've
a
had our-
bazillion.
we've had our architect advocating on our behalf, you
Yeah.
know. So they're working on it, and, you know, right now we have temporary certificate of occupancies until they formulate a solution at state.
So every elementary building,
I know it's in Burnaby. I don't
How many-
remember them in
how many
Hanover.
doors are we talking about?
I don't-
There's,
Does Munn have them?
yeah, there's,
Dozen?
no, there's quite a bit.
Oh,
more,
okay.
Yes.
Just for clarity though, because I did ask this of Darren, because I was under a different impression, but the concern around the doors with the blackboard paint, I thought had to do with flammability, right? If you put something on the door that had increased flammability, but that is not the issue.
That is not the issue.
What is
Right.
the issue?
The issue is that our fire inspector shared that we cannot change
Alter the
the
door.
egress. We can't alter the door. In doing so, we alter the egress. So essentially what they're saying is, since you painted it with Blackport paint, people may not know it's an exit and a door. And our architect is saying, well, first of all, the Blackport paint is on the opposite side of the door. It's on the hallway side. Second of all, we've talked about how if we modify the door, then we are modifying the fire code of the door. So we're going back
You're
and
working, yeah, okay.
forth with state on
Mm.
it. And it became a much larger issue than I think it needed to be. And we were also working with the new fire inspector who didn't quite understand all of the dynamics around
Sure.
it.
Okay, you're on it.
That is that. Okay, so anything else? Okay, we will turn it over to you.
Great, thank you. And it sounds like you are all busy with building and facilities conversations, and Rick and I have, and Lynette have been busy meeting with all of our faculty staff on sharing the capital improvement project and answering questions at the faculty level. And so those meetings have been going really well. And it's interesting, I think, when you give the totality of the project and the different needs of every building, we see like,
Mhm.
oh my goodness. So the Munn roof definitely caught everyone's attention across the district in that perspective. So thank you. I do want to start by welcoming a guest of ours today, and Ms. Amy Thomas from Monroe County School Board Association. Our board knows Amy is going to just be presenting a little bit about her role as president of Monroe County School Board, and we welcome you to the Spencerport School District.
Thank you for having me. I am thoroughly enjoying every minute of listening to standing on rooftops and things like that, because I've done that for many years leading up to this role.
Can
So,
I do a little intro too?
sure, go ahead.
Okay.
Carrie.
So Amy is the most recently past president of the Pittsburgh Central School District School Board. She was on the school board there for 12 years. And after a lot of arm twisting, agreed to be the new executive director of the association this year. So welcome.
Yes, my arm's still broken.
Yeah.
I'll get back to you. So I am here really just to say thank you first and foremost, because what we are here to do at Monroe County School Boards Association is support you the best that we possibly can as school board members and as a superintendent. And as most of you know, because I've seen you at our standing committee meetings, and I love hearing that you're reporting out at your board meetings. That's what we're here for. We're here to support you. So with that, I want to thank you for allowing me to be here, first of all. My clicker's working. And your support of our small but mighty team. I'm sure most of you have been in contact with Nancy Pickering, who's our program director. She does most of our emailing out, so you'll see her name quite often. We're trying to avoid some of the emails by utilizing our website, so I'll be promoting that through my little presentation tonight. But again, we're here to support each one of you as you lead the work in your districts to support every student in your community. That's what we do. So who am I? I kind of look like that picture most of the time, juggling a lot of balls, just as you do at your tables. But I started full-time as the executive director in June with the task of filling very large shoes of Sherry Johnson. As Gary mentioned, I was the vice president of you didn't mention this, but I was vice president of the association in 2019 and 20. And then that led me to being president of the association during the pandemic.
Nice time.
I know, it was perfect timing, and Summer knows all about that. So 9 years serving on the Pittsburgh Board of Education. I was 5 years as president, 1 year as vice president. I'm mom to four pretty good kids. They're for the most part on their own right now. I have one left at home. I started my career as an elementary school teacher in the Rochester City School District. I've lived in many different places. Probably the most unique was Sao Paulo, Brazil. And I moved back to my hometown, which is here, in 2009. And I've been a teacher, substitute teacher, PTA president, ESL teacher. You can read the rest, but a lot of school boards have been asking me to be a sub, and I just can't do that right now. So why is MCSBA valuable to all of you? So Dave, as you noticed, serving during the pandemic,
Yeah.
it was a tough time. What has it taught us though, as school board members, and especially having the association that we have at our fingertips, the importance of continuous learning for board members, how to be better leaders through crisis, preparing ourselves for the unexpected. I think that was the toughest part of being a board member. And I realized I had a typo in this, but basically that's what we're here to do, is to help you as leaders in your community during times of crisis. What do we do? Our mission, we do have a mission statement to support association members and providing excellence to your students. So we provide 40 professional development programs for our membership per year. Just to give you some perspective, I did attend a conference, the NISBA conference, where I met with all of the local school board associations, and many of those associations offer 10 to 15 programs. We're offering 40 over the course of a year. With 3 people in an office, it's pretty substantial. We have 3 standing committee meetings every month. Most of you know that. We have information exchange, labor relations, and legislative. I want to offer the fact that we do have a hybrid model. Some of you do join us via Zoom. We've improved that technology this year, so we're proud of that. We invite you to come to those meetings in a virtual fashion, not a problem at all. And we do forward that information to your district clerk so that she has that login information. We have 4 board president meetings, 2 law conferences, 2 social hours that we incorporated this year as part of my goal. And that came out of the survey that we asked all of you at the beginning of the year to see what you were needing. And I'll get to that in the next slide. But you can read all of the things that we offer to you is really just in support of what you do on an ongoing basis. Many of you attended our prospective board candidate training, and then you also came to our board governance and fiscal training. So,
Amy, I wanted you to point out the last bullet about the tax bill.
oh boy, yeah. So we facilitate through our office. I'm not sure which executive director I have to thank for this. I think it goes back about 20 years that we have been preparing the tax bill, printing with a printing company, and we kind of hand the tax bills basically through the districts and ensure that the districts are paying the tax bills. So I'm doing a lot of follow-up with the county and with your school districts to make sure that all the tax bills are getting printed and out to the constituents. And we're saving you money by doing that, and by kind of hand-holding the process, it helps everyone, but it's an arduous task for sure. Advocacy is a big piece of what we do. We have a legislative committee for those of you who have served on it. We developed legislative priorities for all of our districts, which, you know, many of our districts through COVID found out that we have so many things alike and are able to advocate and better advocate together on. So that is what our legislative arm does. We have subcommittees, and this year, again, I'm very happy to say that we have updated 10 position papers. Those position papers are handed out to state legislators and local legislators when we meet with them. So if you do schedule a meeting here in your district with just your board, you'll have that at your fingertips to be able to talk to your legislators about what the facts are and what assistance is needed. We do have an advocacy, not trip, but it's a virtual trip, unfortunately, in December on the 5th. But we do and have aligned some of our legislators. It's been a little difficult getting a hold of them since they've had the election season, but we have the 5th of December reserved for our legislators, and we do invite you to join us on that Zoom advocacy day. We have a legislative breakfast in February where we have almost 100 to 120 people that attend. That's board members, superintendents, sometimes business officials, and our legislators. And then we have a 2-day Albany trip that is scheduled this year for the first time since COVID started, March 6th and 7th. And we're also working on getting our Board of Regents to our legislative committee meeting in April. You want to talk to me? What's changed? So I mentioned that we had a survey at the beginning of June. I felt it was really important for me as the new executive director to get a better understanding of what you need. What does the membership want? 2 main points. Networking. People felt the need coming out of COVID to have more time together. And what did that look like? So that has to be offered in a variety of ways. One is to overhaul and redesign our website, which was very antiquated. I'm happy to report we have 2 blogs on the website now. One is just for board presidents, finding that board presidents were really needing to have the ability to network with one another during times of crisis and even when there isn't a crisis. And also I have an executive director blog, and you'll be seeing Spencerport on that blog. I've been kind of testing the waters to see how many people are looking at the website, because each time I visit a board, I'll do a little blurb on what the visit was like. So I'll be talking about your rooftops, and I'll be talking about lots of things that you've mentioned at your table. But in all seriousness, that is for sharing best practices. The website is all about sharing information. So that's, to me, part of networking, part of your ability to becoming a better leader. We've added 2 social hours. You missed one if you didn't attend it yet, or in this fall, but we have one coming up in May. And then the second key point that came out of the survey was improving our remote access to the information exchange and labor relations. And I believe that we're in a good place right now. The only other thing I want to mention on this slide is that we have a mid-year survey that will be coming out on the 15th of December. Please, we want you to critique us, give us whatever feedback, whatever comments. They can be positive too, I'll take those. But about 15 questions, shouldn't take you long at all. And that is it for what I have to present to you tonight. If you have any questions, any comments that you'd like to share with me tonight, I'm happy to take them.
Amy, I was out of town, obviously, on work for the special hour. How did that all play out and stuff?
So we had about 30 people attend,
Good.
Which to me was a very good showing, considering it was at 4 p.m. I think that number will grow. I was anticipating roughly 20.
Okay.
I think the more that it's advertised, the more word of mouth that spreads. We had several districts that were represented, which I was thrilled. So again, we'll be promoting that information. When you get out to the website, we have alerts that will kindly tell you that there's something coming up that you need to remember. So
Excellent, excellent.
How many districts in the county? 15? How many districts?
So we represent 23 districts,
Okay, so
but they're
times-
not all Monroe County.
Yeah, right, okay, right. I was trying to think how many board members that would be. So,
We have roughly 190 members.
got it, yeah. So you had 30, so.
It's a hard time.
Oh, I know, it's nothing.
I will say that the audio is much improved. It's excellent. No, really, it's a
I'm
lot
so
better.
glad to hear that.
Yep.
The one thing that I would say that I hear is, and Kristen, I think it was you that actually commented, and a couple other people, it'd be great to be able to see the presenter. The tough thing is we have 3 computers working with 2 people.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, I fell ill at our information exchange meeting, and I was conducting the Zoom, and I had to leave my laptop there without anyone even manning it. So, you know, we have 2 people that are trying to figure out the technology. Can't see the presenter, but you can see the presentation, and I think hearing the presentation is even more important because that's your takeaway. And after the fact, having it up on our website, which in my mind should be up in 48 hours, and we're getting there. We do have to make some edits to the video clip. We have to clip off a few things on each of the videos, but having that available to everybody, even if you can't attend, is really important.
Yeah, I think it's the audio is so much better, like it, you know, so much better. So you can actually attend on a lunch break at work and
Yeah,
hear it clearly. So I really appreciate it. Made a
Thank you.
huge difference.
thanks. That we have special microphones that I will share a funny story, just a quick one, because I know you want to get me out of here. We had 2 microphones and neither one of Nancy nor myself had used them before. Well, we thought they weren't functioning, but it was, we had them turned backwards. And so the microphone was down the entire time. We had to send them back. We returned them twice. And I'm like, we tested it out, it's fine. So it's all work in progress. We're getting there, but thank you for the compliment. I appreciate that. I'll take that back to Nancy. Anyone else? If you need anything, please do reach out to me. I'm available 24/7. Gary knows that. Any questions you have, any weird things that come up, I know there are weird things that come up frequently. I'm there to answer any questions that you have. Dave, I know that I'll be talking to you tomorrow.
All right, thank you.
Thank
Amy.
you.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks.
Thanks.
I was thinking, you know, Amy emphasized support of board members, but as a new superintendent, I can't tell you, Amy, how many times, just even in our superintendent meetings, when we're grappling with something and, you know, we might say, let's run this by, you know, Amy or Monroe County School Board and get thoughts. And so I thank you for that partnership at the superintendent level as well. It's
So
really
important.
helpful.
It's very important, and that's part of the relationship, so.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. So moving forward, the board knows we have a number of electives that we're going to be reviewing today, 3 electives, and we have our colleagues and teachers here to present those electives, anatomy and physiology, a drama elective, as well as functional strength training. So I'm going to ask Ty if you'd like to introduce our colleagues
Sure,
in the
yeah.
order in which they're going to present.
Thanks, Ms. Swan. We like to go alphabetical just to make it easier. So as a result, we're going to start with anatomy and physiology. So I'm going to ask 2 of our science teachers, Megan Farrell and Chris Kroll, to join us. So they're going to present right up here, and Mr. Allen has the PowerPoint that should be in your OneNote as well. So Megan and Chris, turn it over to you.
Thanks, Ty. You know, I know it's alphabetical, but let's start with science first. So my name is Chris Cole. I'm the science teacher leader at the high school. I'm going to introduce Megan, and Megan's going to do the majority of the presentation for us. You know, I found working with Megan over the last few years that the best thing that I can do for her is get out of her way. She's a phenomenal young teacher. You know, when she came in for our interviews, to give you a little story about Megan, one of the things we asked our finalists to do was do a lesson for us, and Megan came in and she did a lesson which was an escape room, which was a pretty impressive thing for a young teacher to do, especially in a final round of an interview. Wasn't perfect, went off with a little bit of a hitch, but it just showed us right off the bat what kind of a teacher Megan's going to be. She's been fantastic for us so far. We tried to come up with some ideas of some things that we can do to enhance our electives for our students, and we settled as a department on anatomy and physiology. Megan's pretty passionate about this. She's very excited about the opportunity to present this to you tonight. We think it's going to be a great course for our kids at adopted. So without any further ado,
Well, thank
Megan.
you, Chris. That was very, very kind.
That's the truth.
So yeah, we're excited about having potentially an anatomy and physiology course at the high school. Our big reason for it is that there are no courses currently at the high school that offer the content that we would in an anatomy and physiology course. A lot of people think that living environment offers this. It is a very, very small portion of the curriculum. And with our new NGSS and NISLO standards, it's actually been even shortened even more. So it's not really offered at the living environment level, which all students take. And at the AP biology level, it is not in the new curriculum at all, which a lot of students assume it is, but it's just not part of the curriculum. So it wouldn't be, it's not covered by another course. Any students who want to pursue a career in any of the medical fields, PA, PT, pre-med, so many more are going to need to take an anatomy and physiology course at the university level. And it can be very overwhelming for students to see that content for the first time at university level. So just having that exposure in high school can be really valuable to students. We hope to offer this with the NGSS standards in mind. So it will be problem-based, it will be rigorous, performance-based assessments are something that we hope to incorporate. And I think maybe the most telling is that there is student interest in it. We surveyed a lot of, we sent out a survey to the different science teachers at the high school. We had over 150 students participate and more than half were interested in an anatomy and physiology course. And I think that speaks a lot to, student choice is really important in their own education. And we do believe that an anatomy and physiology course fits into the Spencerport mission statement of just using knowledge, skills, and attitudes to contribute to their community, especially when we're trying to apply this with the NGSS standards. That really just fits in really, really well with the district mission statement. So the course objectives that we have, these are essentially just different body systems that we would go through. I'm not going to read them all to you, but really one of the big focuses that we want is not just to have students memorize different body systems, not just going through flashcards and being able to regurgitate information. We want them to be able to identify what happens when homeostasis is disrupted, which for those of you who are not taking a living environment course in a long time, homeostasis is that balance. So if essentially disease happens, how does the body respond? What can we do to return to that homeostasis? So those are just some of the topics that we would cover. And walking you through the NGSS standards, I think that one of the easiest ways that I can relate to how we would incorporate those standards is to give you an example. So one of the topics that I expect that we would cover would be transport, which and the human body is just moving things around. So think, how do you get things like oxygen to your body and get waste like carbon dioxide away? And that would include the circulatory system, so all your blood vessels, your heart, a little bit of the lungs in there too, just with that gas exchange. So two big activities that I would anticipate would be having students design and run their own experiment to see the effect of some variable on a heart rate. I know you talked about either sleep or, did you just eat? How much sleep did you get? How much caffeine have you had that day? So some sort of experiment that they could look at. And then with each of the units, we would also anticipate students completing a case study to understand, like I said, what happens when homeostasis is disrupted. So if they were presented with their own patient, so to speak, what would they diagnose? How would they fix the problem? So the NGSS cross-cutting concepts that I have up there, we do believe that would be incorporated throughout. And one of the big things that we've been working on as a science department in our department meetings is focusing on these NGSS standards. We just met with our University of Rochester consultant and I'm working with Rick Kepler, our content focus coach, on incorporating these into our electives this year. And essentially, they're really designed to be that three-dimensional learning that you can apply them to any course. And it's just the only difference is the content that you're teaching. So we're really trying to apply these to each of our core courses, living environment or science, chemistry, physics, but as well as our electives. And right now, when we're not bound by that end of year assessment from New York State, we really can explore these different NGSS standards, which has been really exciting, especially for me as an elective teacher this year, trying different things with students. So some of the cross-cutting concepts, just really quickly to show you how we would touch upon them in this transport example. Patterns, every single body system is made up of cells, those cells make up tissues, tissues make up organs, and so on and so forth. And students would be able to see that pattern across every single body system that we study. They would be able to see the cause and effect of the different variables that they decided to study on the effect on that heart rate. And going along with that with the scale, proportion, and quantity, hopefully they would be able to see, for example, if you exercise more, your heart rate is going to change more than just if you were, standing here. For systems and system models, every single body system that we study, they're going to see how those organs interact together and how those organ systems interact with each other to maintain a living organism. For energy and matter, once again, I don't know how many of you remember back to living environment days of cellular respiration with your body making
We'll
its
quiz
cellular
on you.
energy, which is ATP. But that's really, you need to get those nutrients to your body, get the waste products away. So a lot of, I think what we would do would come back to that cellular level of how are we getting energy to our body, because that's what we need to do to sustain it. Structure and function, every single cell shape determines what it does. So we would touch on that. And with stability and change, especially with those case studies, they would be able to look at what happens when that homeostasis is disrupted, how are they diagnosing a patient, and how are they coming up with a treatment plan. And then these were just exactly what I said, but kind of written out much nicer. And so then looking at as well the science and engineering practices that are also part of NGSS, that third component of those of that 3D part of education that we're moving towards. Is so asking questions, defining problems, and planning and carrying out investigations completely touched upon when we do that, when the students will design their own experiment. Developing and using models, they're going to have to be able to do that, and we hope to be able to get some actual models for students to look at about the different body systems. That way they can really see what they are studying and they can visualize it more. Analyzing and interpreting data, we would expect students to gather that experimental data that they ran and be able to, come up with a conclusion from it that they'd be able to share with people that would be repeatable. And they'd have to do some statistics on those. So that would be the using mathematics and computational thinking. We'd expect them to construct those explanations and design solutions. So the last three, I think, are really applicable to those case studies where they're going to have to defend why they decided that that was the diagnosis that they wanted to give and defend what treatment plan that they would come up with for that patient. So I think that those last three practices are really exemplified in those case studies. Once again, I just wrote them out in the next couple of slides. So our long-term vision is in the next 2 years, we hope to offer dual enrollment with a local university. I've kind of started looking at some, and we really hope to be able to offer that. We just want to get it started first with some materials before we explore those other relationships. But we do want to start to establish relationships with local professionals because one of the big parts of students taking this course would be if they are interested in potentially pursuing a career, we would hope to offer them potential shadowing opportunities or places that they could go. But I think another one thing is, if they talk to a medical professional, they thought they really wanted to be a PT and they learned what PTs do, they may not want to do that anymore. And I think that's just as valuable as knowing that that is either confirming it or, kind of the opposite of learning something that they don't want to do. So hoping to form those relationships just to increase student exposure or potential volunteer hours. At this time, we don't believe that we need additional staff or training. We would appreciate curriculum writing time as there's not a curriculum in New York State for this. Potentially, we would need additional training if and when we do offer dual enrollment, whatever the university required, that's what we would need that additional training for. And we expect an initial high startup budget just to be able to obtain those materials, but many would be, once we have those materials, we'd be able to use them year after year. And our initial startup costs would go down to a yearly budget just for those lab, any lab materials that we would need. This is just what we came up with recently for the course catalog. One of the big parts that we'd like to emphasize is that it's not just a third-year elective for students. It's going to be a rigorous course that students need to have taken our science and living environment, which all students are required to, but they would also need to have either taken chemistry or be taking chemistry as a co-requisite, because we do want, it's going to be hands-on. It's not going to be an easy course for students. So we want them to be, have those skills that they need. We think it will be pretty based in chemistry. So we want them to have those skills throughout.
Yeah, I think you hit everything. So, yeah, I was waiting to jump in where I needed to, and again, I think it just says a lot about Megan and I jump in at all. So, does anybody have any questions they'd like to ask and we can answer for you?
Now, first off, I want to say you're a great teacher. I mean, holy smokes, that was a great presentation, so thank you on that. So you said something about there's no curriculum in New York State at all to base this on?
They've cut quite a bit out. I know that they've done that, with all of our subject areas. Like each one's been hit as curriculums have changed over. It's been a while since they've changed over the curriculums recently. We're getting a big shift in a couple of years though. Within 2 years, we'll be having a new assessment at the state level for both earth science and the environment. That's going to be very heavily based in those science and engineering practices Megan talked about, cross-cutting concepts, and just the core concepts that whenever we talk about 3D or three-dimensional learning, we're talking about those three things. The cross-cutting concept and science and engineering practices are two things that should be pervasive for all of our science courses. And in a lot of cases, I think there's going to be opportunities to link courses from one course to the next, so that way they're not so isolated and separate. It's difficult now to put a lot of that stuff into practice because we are handcuffed to a certain degree by the regions exams at the end of the year, where our local classes give us opportunities to explore some of these things pretty well. So in a couple of years, we'll be shifting that. In the following year, we'll be doing chemistry and physics. That's the plan, at least. It's changed multiple times over the last several years. So whether or not that happens, that's sure yet.
Do we have a sense of interest in the course?
Yeah, like Megan said, we surveyed over 100. We said 150. Yeah, and more than half the kids were interested. It'll be nice. It'll give the kids another opportunity for something to do outside of our regular electives that we have, whether it's our, because Regents chemistry and Regents physics to a certain degree are elective courses. They're not things that our kids have to take to graduate. We also have forensics, and which is been a very popular course at our school. We have environmental science as well, and then we have our AP classes. But this will just give the kids another opportunity to do something that they're definitely interested in.
Of course, is no lab, I'm assuming.
Well, I think it's not going to be like a.
It's not a 3 out of 4.
Yeah, it won't be. It won't be anything like that. There will be even lab work within the course, but it'll be within the confines of the days of each class. So.
This isn't a good or a bad, I'm just curious. Is it gonna pull from kids from other science, do you think, or pull kids in who maybe wouldn't take in the 3rd year of science?
Yes.
Both.
Like
Yes.
if they're accelerated.
I think that, right now, our forensics enrollment is very high. It's a very popular course. Our forensic teachers do a fantastic job with that class, and kids are very interested in it. We may pull from some other classes. It's possible that we will. I don't see it as a replacement for anything. So I think that we'll have some kids that will want to take it because they're interested in it. And I think we'll have some kids that might choose to take that over something else, because there's only so many periods in the day where they can take something. So we may be pulling from some courses. I don't think it's gonna be to the detriment of any other courses. Okay.
I had a question about the dual enrollment. You said, Megan, that you had done a little bit of research. So do you envision it articulating to like a survey of anatomy and physiology rather than A&P1 or A&P2
Or
at the college level?
I think that would depend on what the university would have to offer. I've talked to Brockport a little bit and I've talked to FLCC a little bit, but I honestly haven't done more than just kind of those initial searching
Yeah.
websites to see what is offered. When I looked at MCC, it didn't seem like they offered it at a high school level, or the dual enrollment with a high school. So that's kind of where I started. And I think it would just depend on what the university would allow us to do.
I would imagine it would be like a survey of anatomy and physiology, because I will echo something that you said early on, that A&P 1 and 2 is required of so many of the allied health majors, but even phys ed, which is one of our most popular majors at Brockport, A&P weeds people out of that program very quickly. So a lot of students come in and take a survey of A&P, which is prep for A&P 1 and 2. So this would be akin in my mind to a survey of A&P, which gives them a great foundation. And I said to Ty as well, nursing, which is our most popular major at Brockport, if students come in with A&P in high school, statistically, they're much more likely to get into the clinical phase of the program because they have a much more solid foundation than those who don't take that. So I'm excited to see that this could possibly be offered.
I have a child that I can.
Oh, she's a nursing major at Brockport. Oh, coincidentally, I heard that.
She took anatomy and physiology in high school, and she feels much better prepared for it now. She's taking it.
Yeah.
So echo that.
I forgot about that.
Yes.
We didn't discuss that before.
Megan, what are you teaching this year?
This year I'm teaching environmental and forensics.
Okay. I just was on it.
It changes every year.
That's the beauty of being one of the younger people. You
Yeah.
Get a nice variety of what you
Any other questions? We can move to the next new course, if that's okay.
So thank you.
Megan, Chris, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
So our second course, I'd like to ask Jennifer Lipinski and Jackie Mentars to come to the podium. Jen and Jackie are going to be providing an overview on functional strength training 2.
No, I will just say, as a, somebody who did take, anatomy and physiology at Brockport, that would have been a really helpful course. Personally, I would have benefited from that, so. So Jackie and I are excited to share tonight, for a functional strength training 2 pilot for the next school year. So I'm gonna let Jackie provide a little bit of context as to when functional strength training was initially proposed and approved and when it started, at our high school.
Yes, thank you. So same thing, I have to echo, I don't know, I might have to take credit as that being a phys ed elective too, I don't know, we'll have to talk about that. But just awesome job with that and super excited to really partner, I think, with the course we are offering as well this evening. So just to give everybody a little bit of background, because I know we have some new board members since we originally proposed our functional strength training elective. So it is our first ever phys ed elective, which we're very proud of. And we proposed this in 2018, the Functional Strength Training 1 course, and it's currently a semester course. And what functional strength training is, for those of you that don't know, it has the approach of training movement patterns as opposed to muscle groups. So when we think about our goal as physical education teachers at the high school, we want to prepare our students for lifetime fitness opportunities and really steer away from training those muscle groups and how they move through their daily lives, which is functional movements, the squat, push, pull, hinge. So it really has that approach on more of a lifetime fitness approach, but still within the confines of strength, conditioning, skill, and health related fitness. So we proposed this course in 2018, and I do have to say, it was really student driven, this elective. Our kids have phys ed once out of 4 days in our cycle. And they are begging for more movement opportunities. So we have a lot of unstructured movement time that we provide the kids, and it really got us thinking, how can we tie credit to this for the kids, which led us to Functional Strength Training 1. I do have to quickly share that Mr. Peelan, our former athletic director, did text me on my way here this evening, and he was very happy to see this on the agenda because we created this course together, and in 2018, that's very true. He's always connected in case anyone is wondering. He is probably watching. But when we created this course, we really went back and forth. Do we make it a semester course? Do we have functional strength training 1, functional strength training 2? Should this be a full year course? And obviously, when you're starting something new, you start small and see where it grows. So that brings us to where we are this evening. And just to give you some data, in 1920, we had 75 students that were interested in the course. And then we, like most things in 2021, significantly plummeted. But I think that's because of the nature of the course. We were in the hybrid model, and it just wasn't appealing for students to take this course in that model. So we're working our way back up to that initial interest.
So another new exciting thing that's happening in the phys ed world is we have updated standards for the first time since 1996, I believe. So the new standards will be in full implementation in the 2023-2024 school year, so next year for us. And the expansion of the course as a functional strength training 2 option really speaks to all of the standards, but specifically standards 3 and 6. So this is just kind of furthering our elective-based alignment to the new New York State learning standards that are really embedded in not only the social emotional components of physical education, but also really providing opportunities for students to be exposed to potential career opportunities in physical education, be it through personal training or exercise physiology majors at the collegiate level. So it really aligns to the new standards that we'll be fully implementing in 23-24.
So our current course really is lower level Bloom. So when we think about our content in the current course, it's knowledge and it's demonstration of material. So we have the functional movements the kids learn, a plyometrics, speed agility, and a nutrition component. And that's over the course of the 20 weeks. It doesn't allow the time for students to apply that knowledge to their personal fitness goals. So really that would be the main objective of this course. It would allow students to take that knowledge and apply it to their personal lives and give them an opportunity to see growth. It would be within their school day that they would have every other day this course meets. So they really would have a solid opportunity to achieve those personal fitness goals that they set with that knowledge that they learn in functional strength training 1. It also would give us the opportunity, as Jen just said, to really explore different career opportunities for the students in the field of health, physical education, athletic training, anatomy and physiology, and also tap into our community resources. We just have such an awesome Greater Rochester community, and it would just allow the kids an opportunity to see all that's out there in relation to pursuing personal fitness opportunities. What else is on this slide here?
So in terms of staffing and any needs that we would have right now, our current staff is trained and able to support this. And it's an accessible opportunity for us to expand the curriculum that we already have in place for functional strength training and to build on that to create, as Jackie just stated, that opportunity for students to apply what they've learned in functional strength training.
And I just do have to quickly comment, my colleague that teaches this course, Josh Harder at the high school, he is phenomenal. He is just a wealth of knowledge. He tailors every class to the student's needs. So no class is the same. He specifically designs the workouts for where the students are at. And he just does such an incredible job. The kids really respond to him, and we're just so lucky to have him leading this course. And I did just have to acknowledge him because he really has done a phenomenal job with the course.
So as Jackie kind of shared before, this course was really driven based on student interest, as is our hope to expand it to a functional strength training 2 option. So we surveyed the students that have been in the course in years past, and 92% of the students responded, yes, they would like to take this course as a functional strength training 2 elective. And there's just some anecdotal street data, as we like to say, just from students that we've surveyed and had conversations with. I won't read it all to you. I think the one that sticks out the most to me is from a student who is not an athlete, who shares that she would have never been exposed to these types of movement patterns and learning how to safely train and engage in physical activity had she not taken this course. Because to Jackie's credit, I've been in that class many times with Josh, and he does an incredible job. I mean, it's really impressive how he tailors everything to the individual fitness levels that are in that space. So she and Josh just did an incredible job building this course, and I think that is why we have the student interest that we have to expand it, because students are seeing the benefits of it and they're interested in it and they're passionate about it. So, want to add any more street data?
I think that's good.
I have a true question.
Yeah.
So you say 92%, how many kids voted yes?
So,
Like how many kids said yeah?
so the survey was 55 of our students that have taken this course.
One.
Functional strength
Well,
training
Functional
right,
strength
right,
training.
right.
over
Yep,
the past
Right.
years.
And
Yeah,
up to 90%.
they would, yeah.
they would like the opportunity to take it.
Was it pulled just from one demographic?
No, so that, like Jen just said, I think it was interesting when we designed this course initially. I think it was under the assumption that it would give our athletes, an opportunity to build this into their school schedule for credit. And no, we really have a well-rounded group of students that just enjoy fitness pursuits that are taking this class. So we do have a lot of students that are not part of our athletic programs that are taking this course.
Would it be would it be able to be adaptable if you had somebody with more physical limitations?
Yeah, so you're saying like different fitness ability levels or for a student with disabilities?
Both.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, no, I think it can be adaptable to, we said, Mr. Harder adapts it to all fitness levels now, and just like we would in any other phys ed class, we would adapt it to the needs of the students based on whatever their needs might be.
We've had the support to keep the class sizes a bit smaller, just the way that it's structured. So that has been beneficial to provide more of that individualized instruction. But it is not every student is eligible to take the course.
I think thank you. That's what it
Yes,
sounds good.
yes, every student is eligible. The only prerequisite we have for this course will be the functional strength training one.
Stupid question. This classroom is the gym, right? In the gymnasium?
The fitness
The
center,
fitness center.
and the oxygen,
Yeah.
and the track.
Yeah, right.
Which will be part of capital project phase 2.
And it does not qualify for PE credit?
It does not. It's supplemental to our phys ed requirement.
And the reason why, I'll just comment on that quickly. Functional strength, within our existing phys ed program, we offer a variety of different units to the students. So it's not honed in on just one unit. So this course is specifically designed for that functional movement, whereas our high school curriculum exposes the children to a variety of different activities. And really that's our goal, is that we want to expose them to a variety of different activities with hopes that they will take a couple different interests into their adult life. So I think if we pigeonhole the kids per se into just this track, it would be a slight disservice to potentially not allow them to find something else that they would pursue an interest in as well.
The question. Jackie, Jen, thank you very much. Really
Thank you
appreciate
very
it.
much.
Thank you. Our last new course proposal is theater project. And well, not unfortunately, but just a
She's
quick,
busy.
just a quick reminder that the Addams Family musical is this weekend. So starting on Thursday evening, shows Thursday night, Friday night, matinee Saturday, and also a show on Saturday night. The teacher and the individual who's proposing this course, Katie Allen, is the musical director of our program here in Spencerport. We thought it would really be in our best interest for her to kind of showcase her background and her passion for this course. And so that's why Corey's queued it up. And we have, without further ado, Ms. Allen's going to be presenting. And just to let you know, I did ask Corey just to kind of speed up the presentation. So if it sounds like it's fast or cadence fast, that was because of Ty's language.
Give me 1 second, it's not showing up in our share. I apologize. Just give me 1 second.
Yeah. That was my podcast. When they got
Yeah.
Sorry.
My name is Katie Allen. I'm an English teacher here at the high school. This is my 9th year at Spencerport and my 8th year being the director of Stage Drama Club. And this video is meant to introduce a new course that I'm proposing called Theater Project. So first of all, I apologize that I cannot be there with you in person. Tonight is actually our understudy show for the Addams Family, but I hope this presentation will still give you a good idea of what the course is all about. Theater Project would be a full year course being implemented in the fall of 2023. I would start with one section and see how that went and potentially add more sections in the future. So it would be a course that would be primarily project-based, housed in the English department. And any interested Spencerport student, grades 9 to 12, would be able to take it, with priority given to upperclassmen and current Stage Drama Club members. And if there were a lot of interest in the course, I would suggest that we put a cap on it to make it manageable for one teacher. And this course would be an opportunity for students who are really serious about theater, maybe even considering it as a career path, to pursue this passion within the school day and for course credit. So currently, if a student is interested in drama or theater, they can only pursue this through Drama Club, which is not credit bearing and it happens after school. There's no place for them to do that within the school day. And my vision for this course would be a very hands-on approach to learning theater. So it would be the ins and outs, the behind-the-scenes aspect of putting on productions. This course would really align with many of the beliefs we already have here in Spencerport, things that we feel are important to us. So I wanted to break those down to show you how they would fit. In terms of our district mission, students would be educated in the art of theater. Hopefully this course would be very inspiring to them in terms of studying and engaging in projects that are authentic and meaningful, helping them to love learning, pursue excellence, and they'll apply the knowledge and skills that they learn, especially from semester 1 to the project that they do semester 2. In terms of our strategic objectives, as a district, we believe that students should be given the opportunity to demonstrate their love of learning through a passionate pursuit of their own personal interest, and this course would allow just that. Our core values, we believe that respecting diversity affirms individual worth and benefits the community. So thinking about the types of students who are interested in theater, historically, these kids are the creative and sensitive types. They're my dancers, my poets, kids who love drama and performing on stage. They're artists, they're designers, those who are just fond of self-exploration and expression. So it would give them a safe space just to be themselves and to be among like-minded peers. We also believe that a sense of belonging is essential to personal well-being. So once again, giving them that safe space. And finally, we believe that when people work together toward a common goal, all things are possible. So when I show you the breakdown of my vision for this course in terms of each semester and the projects that they'll be tackling, there really is no way for them to complete those tasks without collaboration and working together to problem solve and compromise and encourage and dream. Because this will be housed in the English department, I also thought it was important to point out that many of the curriculum shifts that we've made over the last few years are perfectly aligned with my idea for this course. So what we're now heavily focusing on in the English department is both reading and writing in the genre, and really reading to create versus reading to respond to a work that already exists. So the idea of using mentor texts as inspiration for then creating an original work within the same genre. And then our ELA 612 philosophy is also something we've been working on with the middle school to make sure we really understand what is the point of our courses and that we all have a similar belief system when it comes to teaching ELA. So we've really been trying lately to increase the variety of reading experiences that students have, keeping in mind the purpose, audience style, and publishing form in which they're writing. And then, of course, fostering a sense of value and appreciation for reading and writing that allows them to be creative, to express themselves, to offer a new perspective, and to work on their personal voice. And also thinking about the text forms and the cultural perspectives that students might be writing from. These could be completely different from the traditional types of outputs that kids have in an English class. So it's a very unique opportunity for them. In terms of standards, even though this course would be housed in the English department, it best aligns with the standards for the arts. And then within those standards, there's a subset that is specific to theater. So I'll be showing you that now. So the New York State Education Department put this out pretty recently in 2020. They came out with these 11 anchor standards for theater, and they fall under these 4 processes is what they call them. So creating is one, performing, responding, and connecting. So those are the 4 things that a good theater class in terms of the state is concerned with. And Theater Project would hit all of these anchor standards. So I'll show you where in the course I envision those being. And then to further align with the things that we already believe here at Spencerport, New York State has come out with both enduring understandings and essential questions that go along with each of those 4 processes. So the reason I think this course is important is because, to my knowledge, Spencerport currently does not offer any course that aligns specifically with those art standards I just mentioned for theater. We also only offer 1 English elective within the department, which is currently Eastern Studies. So other than that, or choosing to take an AP course, students have 1 track that they can take for English. And as I mentioned earlier, there's no course that we offer for credit for participation in theater. It's simply an extracurricular as it stands right now. Rationale 2 is we would really benefit from a course that allows students who are serious about pursuing theater a place to do that. And I don't just mean actors. I've had many students over the years go into theater for lots of different aspects of it, whether it be set design or costuming or, yes, acting or singing, and they haven't been able to explore that within the confines of the school day. It's been something that they've done on their own or something as a club, but not anything credit bearing. And I also think it's really important that students feel valued for their talents beyond those that are traditionally celebrated in schools. So a really big focus here at Spencerport and other places, of course, is athletics. And my students, I would argue, it takes just as much effort and skill to get up on a stage and sing and dance at the same time, and as much stamina as it does an athlete on a field. So for them to just feel recognized for that passion and that talent and all the hard work that goes into that, I think is very important. So thinking about the 2 semesters and how I would break them down, think about it in terms of the large group instruction and then also breaking kids down into cohorts, which I'll explain a little bit more on the next slide. So as a large group, we'd first start by focusing on pretty much what you would expect for input. So a brief history of theater, some of the genres and elements of drama, the behind the scenes roles and responsibilities in terms of the profession, your technical terms, and of course we would be reading and or watching different plays and musicals, trying to apply our understanding from the textbook to what we're seeing on stage. The output, of course, would be various different, both formative and summative assessments. So I imagine one of the summative assessments being sort of a basic exam covering items 1 through 4. Assessment number 2 would be maybe more of an essay type of a reflection, analyzing the author's craft moves that they made within that play or musical and trying to understand why they made those choices. The second instructional method for semester 1 would be small group cohorts. This would focus on the remaining processes that we didn't cover in the large group setting. So this would be the creation and the performance aspects. So for inputs, my goal right now is for students to be able to choose which of these cohorts they want to be in with some flexibility, knowing that semester 2 they could shift from the cast to the crew or the crew to doing some of the artistic behind the scenes things. So I have had students over the years who have been pretty fluid. Maybe one year they're in the cast, the next year they're in the crew. There is definitely interest in all of those things for some students. So this course would be really cool in the sense that they could choose to maybe only be in the crew cohort for the course, but then maybe they want to be in the cast for the actual show. So I don't want them to feel limited in terms of what they already do if they're already a part of drama club. And I want to give them a place to explore maybe some of these other options for how to be a participant in something like a production. So during class time, we would work on these items as they pertain to the musical that's already happening in the fall. And then the output, of course, would be a reflection, either an essay or a project. Of course, it would have to be differentiated depending on the cohort, sort of explaining the work that they did in their small groups, the decisions that they made, and how those choices were a direct result of their learning from the large group. The second semester, the musical is over, so there's nothing for us to really apply our learning to that already exists, but we would be creating something new. So as a large group, some of the things I'd like to do for an input, I would absolutely love to be able to take students on trips to either Jiva or to the Auditorium Theater. We have the Rochester Broadway Theater League right in our backyard, so I think being able to utilize that would be amazing. I get pamphlets all the time about backstage tours and workshops and all of these things I'd love to be able to take kids to. So I think this course would be the perfect opportunity to do that. And also if there were any type of like guest speakers, I'd be interested in exploring more about that in terms of our input for the spring. And the output, of course, would be an analysis of those experiences depending on what they are. But our main focus for the spring would be creating a play. So once again, I'm looking at the small group cohorts. Again, it would be 4 out of the 4 processes that New York State identifies as being important for a course in theater. And you'll notice that in the second semester, a cohort is added, which is that first one that says author and composer. So it really is dependent on the students in the class and who signs up for the course, what strengths they may have to bring to the table already. If I had students who were extremely strong in writing and they wanted to tackle this, that would be amazing. And I have had kids in the past who've been interested in this on their own and have written plays for fun in their spare time and asked me to read them over. So that is definitely my goal, would be to have a brand new original piece that students are using for self-expression. If, however, the students that I happen to have, if that task is too daunting or overwhelming or not quite up their alley, I'd be more than open to just putting on a play that already exists, that's published. So in that case, that first cohort would disappear and those kids would go into one of the other groups instead. And then the other cohorts would remain the same. So thinking about their blocking, choreography if there is music, how they would deliver the lines, gesturing, intonation, pacing. The artistic cohort would think about things like costuming, hair, makeup design, and anything else that would be visually appealing. So things like designing the lobby, or if they wanted to make like a program or editing the video after the fact, should they record it. And then the production and management cohort would focus on things like balancing the budget, managing timelines, working with vendors, all that kind of stuff. And the output would be obvious for the second semester. That would be putting on the play, which would be very cool to invite friends and family to. I'd love to be able to do the play outside of school hours, but everything else for this class would happen within the confines of the school day. So no changes would be necessary to staffing, except a possible 0.2 that would be left behind by myself in the English department. I would request summer curriculum writing time if possible, so that I could really flesh out, especially those summative assessments, and making sure I know exactly what the end goal is and how I'm asking students to demonstrate their knowledge. Budgeting, this really would not be a huge course in terms of budget. I'm asking for maybe about $1,500 a year for consumables, for things like lumber, paint, any hardware that we might need, costumes or props that we would like to order, things like that that don't already exist in Drama Club. I also put budgeting for textbooks on here, and I put a question mark next to them. The reason I did that is because they vary greatly in price based on whether you rent them or you purchase a class set to keep, also whether they're an ebook or whether they're a hard copy book. So that is something that we would have to look into. But I think textbooks would be really important, especially for that first semester when we're doing a lot of inputting of learning about theater. And then finally, I'm not even sure if this is something the district can do for us, but I would love it if possible. I was talking about bringing students on trips to Jiva or the Broadway Theater League. I'd love to be able to do that. I just don't want that to be a deterrent to a student who's interested in the course, but can't potentially afford those tickets. So I don't know what that would look like, but that would be an ask possible to budget for. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation, and I hope that you will consider approving Theater Project.
So as you can see, Mr. McCabe's with us as well. So if there's any questions that either Sean or myself can answer, best of our ability.
I think when I see her in person this week, I say, why are you talking so slow?
My southern brain couldn't follow that at all. So, is there, I didn't see or couldn't hear, is there a interest in this? Has there been a survey of what the interest is in this course and stuff?
Yeah, yes. So Kitty did canvas the students. Obviously she started first with individuals who were involved with stage. And I think there was obviously a lot of buy-in there. I think through that process, some of the work that we're doing with students with our CRE student summits, they talk about a safe place as well, an area where they can connect with one another too. So I think there's definitely interest. I cannot provide you a number though.
I was talking to Mr. Nike, it's gotta be a huge number, all those drama kids need something,
Yeah.
it's gotta be huge.
I just have one question in terms of the criteria would have been preference given to students in drama, in the drama club. Is there any other course at the high school that has it's not a prereq, but that
A lead in.
a lead in, yeah, I don't know how to call it, but to the course? That an extracurricular would be the
Not to my knowledge.
preferential, you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
There isn't another one like that though.
We talked about, if you don't mind, I didn't want me to speak tonight.
There's some
But our leadership course, which is tied in with student government, we had talked about being a member of student government as being one of the prerequisite, not prerequisite either, but one of the deciding factors that the course was, closing out, there wasn't enough seats, and then working back from that. But there's never been an issue with that in terms of having to go that route. But that's the only course that we've ever talked about, something similar with, priority going to the stage club. What we found is because it's a one-year course and kids can only take it once, it kind of balances itself out over the 4 years, if that makes sense. So it's not.
And would that be the case? So kids could only take it once? You
Correct.
couldn't take it?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
That was part of, I have to tell you, that was
Yeah.
kind of my thinking. I'm thinking if you
Yeah.
have 4 years of school and you're limiting it to drama, you're having a pretty select group.
Correct.
Yeah, no, it would only be 1 year.
Okay.
The other piece too, just knowing that it's a 0.2 FTE, what is the capacity? I'm sure that Kitty could take beyond just her class average if she won so, but what is that balance? And, I really would want to defer to her. And I think as students go through the course selection process, let's say that 100 students are interested in it. You have to put it in one of our blocks, 16 blocks, on either A and C or B and D, and it's going to, students are going to have to make some choices possibly if you only have one section.
It may never be an issue where you have that many
Correct.
sign up. I just,
Any other questions? All right, then with that, need a motion to approve the new high school courses. Kate, second, Megan, all in favor?
Yeah,
All right.
I just had, as an aside, and I won't belabor this, but I just had the opportunity to go through one of the private schools in our area's course catalog. And I know our friends in education are more exposed to this than I am. And I was going through an impressive amount of classes, but I was thinking over my tenure on the board in this past several years of, even in the midst of COVID, staying focused on offering such a wide selection of courses. And I think these three specifically are so great because when I think of social and emotional and how we're focusing on that and giving students choice to feel involved and to be, feel more seen and relate to their education, I just think it's fantastic. It's so, it's such a great feeling to feel like we're putting out something that everybody can take part in and feel connected to. So
I appreciate you sharing that because, I have to give credit to the teachers because they're the individuals who have the passion, have the willingness to create something really from scratch and do it on behalf of our students. So obviously all the credit goes to these individuals who are presenting the courses and of course in the past too.
So, certainly not something that they have to be doing. So they're going way above and beyond their normal scope. And it's just, speaks to the commitment that we have in the district. It's, heartening.
When this came up, that curriculum council, the other connection. So when we think about the priority that's coming out of the strategic plan and we think about the student experience, tonight, each of our colleagues also mentioned their outreach to industry partners. So when we're talking about Rochester Broadway Theater League, when we're talking about connection to higher ed, and hopefully helping students expand their knowledge and their experience of where this can lead in the future. I also think that that's a really exciting component of these three presentations.
Definitely.
Thank you, Tyler.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jonathan, I didn't see you, so I'd like to invite Jonathan up. As I shared with you in news and notes, we have a rotation schedule that we're trying to stick to continue to work on our policies. Yeah, that's fine. Are you comfortable there, Jonathan?
Yeah, I can see fine.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you. So I apologize, I don't have a fast forward button tonight, but
You talk pretty fast.
I
Very well.
can speed it up if you're really interested in that. Policy updates since 2019. Once we started the policy manual, we were still receiving some updates from Erie One with respect to policies that they were supplementing revisions, adding those in. Knowing that most of them would be coming to you at some point during the manual review process, I talked to Erie One. We held off putting more policies out in front of you and making those changes in real time because that could have confused the situation. So we've now going through all of the policies that Erie One provided. There it is. Approximately 50 policies that were updated by Erie One that they think some suggestions could be, suggested changes could be made. There were approximately 17 policies which are required, most of which we already have. For example, they had changes to the Title IX policy, which we made. That one, we made a choice to specifically get that in front of you because it came out early in the process. Others have changes that they're just simply not required. They're optional, or it's not a requirement by the law, but it's for readability or just information bearing and still a suggestion by Erie One. In this case, I did try and speed up the process a bit, and so subdividing them at this point based on level of changes. Level 1 policies that I have put in front of you for tonight are basic changes, not real complicated, some simple editings, some just some additional words. As we go up through the tiers, they will get more complicated. So like right now, we have 20 more policies out to administrators for review, hopefully to get them to the board well in advance of the next board meeting. And then I'm working on the tier 3 and 4 to get them to Diane, Jamie, and Rick. Because there are some that will have some significant changes. So they will still need to be processed. But I'm also trying to make the changes in a faster method, essentially just incorporating the changes, getting them out and asking, now that I have knowledge about all the policies that we have, getting them there, making sure that they're okay with them and showing them what Erie One is suggesting. Our policies that I put in front of you, basically bylaws, community relations, and business operations. Not real complicated, some changes to absentee ballots that came out through the COVID pandemic, board rules, service animals, again, minor, really just identifying the difference between assistants and service animals. Their original policy that they suggested had language regarding therapy animals or therapy dogs specifically, but we already have a therapy dog policy, which is more comprehensive than the language that they suggested. So at this point, I felt it was fine if we just stayed with our current therapy dog policy.
So Jonathan, it's been a while since I've done that, but if with a policy like that, if it's ours is more rigorous, do we make that determination internally and just move forward with it? And we just say ours is better than what they have, we're just going to move forward with approving that one?
It could be done internally because it's not one that's required by law,
Gotcha.
essentially. So yes, in this case, it was essentially our policy brought down to 2.5 paragraphs.
Gotcha.
So ours has a lot more requirements,
Right.
which could theoretically be in a regulation, but we have them in a policy at this point, and it's just easier for everybody to be on the same page with respect to what is and what is not required for that process.
Thank you.
And then the business operations section, financial accountability, really just the modification of the reports from the extra class treasurer, and then a number of policies that Julie was able to help review regarding safety on school buses. Not a lot of changes to procedures, things that have already really been implemented with respect to physicals and other things. Some minor changes, but again, very small in scope. Any questions? All right, continue the process as we move forward, based on schedule. I think that the superintendent has provided you with getting more policies out for review and then bringing them all back again at the end for an approval. And then I still have to fit in a couple more of those last ones that were left over from the manual. I think there's 3 that need to finish up, so I'll get those back in front of you as well.
Thank you.
Shifting over to Rick's section, the enrollment report and the financial report.
Thanks, Kristen. Be short and sweet, just provide a quick update on enrollment based on the beds data, which is taken the first month in October. Long story short, we actually went up 11 students from last year. That's the first time in 3 years that we've actually seen an increase overall. I always like to go back and look to see how are our projections, how does this cohort study really work compared to what we projected? And you can see in the bottom portion of page 1, you know, there was a difference of 5 students overall based on what we had projected. You know, again, the second page is really just sharing with you sort of based on those predictions, where we'll be as a range from K5, 6, 8, and 9, 12. So a big picture, there's not a lot of enrollment change that we're seeing historically, nor are we seeing moving forward. We'll probably take a closer look at enrollment as we get into budget development, because obviously that, you know, deals with staffing and other issues that we look at. And just a quick note that this does not take into consideration the 72 students for pre-K.
Right. So when you're looking forward and stuff, do we not see any kind of significant build happening anywhere in the district at all?
So again, go out and meet with each town assessor annually, and I've not heard anything about a major, you know, construction or whatever. Although what's interesting is I do know there's some major construction over on Mill Road that I thought was in our area, so I'll be following up with Town of Palmer, Town of Greece.
Okay, all right.
But as of right now, Gary, I'm not hearing or seeing anything that would indicate we have anything that would change that enrollment.
I was down on East River Road down in Henrietta the other day, and they are building this massive apartment complex. It's huge. I can't even imagine who is going to be living there, but yeah. Amazing. Anyway, all right, thanks.
So that preschool number, that's a big number though, that at the end there, 75 kids.
Yeah, but they would be the projected for the incoming K class.
Yeah, but I'm saying, you're just saying, that information, that's not a bad thing. I'm saying that'll, once it gets in the mix, it's gonna change things.
Yeah, obviously, I think it changes the dynamics of the school too,
Yeah.
because every principal now has, you know, additional program demands too.
And I drove by the Amazon building, which is, I know, you see the amount of trees in that, there must be 2,000 trees in there. I can't believe that. It's unbelievable. Sidebar, sorry. It's still not going,
It's
right?
not going.
The
It's
yeah,
not going.
I know it's,
No,
but
it's like 2 years.
yeah, must be 2,000 trees. Sorry.
Love a good tangent there.
So speaking of finances, Amazon, again, not a lot to report, but honestly, any variance that I'm seeing in the revenue side of things, it's just due to timing and due to market conditions. So for instance, you know, lottery aid, we're seeing more in, you know, lottery aid than we saw last year at this time. Maybe some of you have participated in that exercise. But other than that, and unfortunately, the state aid output reports are not out yet, so it's really difficult for me to gauge, you know, what we budgeted versus what we're actually seeing based on the financials that we submitted in September, October. On the expense side, again, it's really due to timing of events, and so, for instance, in transportation, you'll see a large variance because we'd already paid for buses last year. We haven't received, nor have we paid for those buses this year. So it's that type of thing that you're seeing on the expense side. I'm showing that there will be, that we're spending everything. I know that won't be the case. Still reconciling through the federal stimulus money, have reconciled through the general fund. So now it's just going to that next step, and probably in the next couple months, you'll see those numbers start to change dramatically. School lunch, again, it's never apples to apples. I love that pun, by the way. But it's really interesting to see the dynamic of how, not having free and reduced meals is impacting the program overall, and we continue to monitor that.
So I saw our deficit is higher year over year right now.
Yeah, but
But it doesn't really.
yeah, you're not really, it's
Okay.
not an apples to apples
Okay.
comparison here. You really, right now, we're really focusing more on the expenses because that's what we can control.
Okay.
Yeah. Any questions? as it relates to those?
Very excited for the December financial report.
Sure to make it.
Could I have-
I'm down.
It's been a couple of years
Calm
since
down,
I've gotten a
calm
good
down.
December financial
Calm down.
report.
With that, could I have a motion to accept the final? Hey, thank you. Second, David. All right, all in favor? 5-0. Thank you. All right. Anything else? No, we're good. Okay, we're on to meeting evaluation. Any comments, concerns, questions? None. Okay, so I need a motion to move into executive session. Kate.
Yes, say it.
I motion to move into this is Lori's job.
I know.
For the purpose of discussing the tenure recommendations of teachers and administrators.
Thank you. Could I have a second? David, and all in favor? Moving to executive. Thank you.